Hello, welcome back to Asian Flicks. Today, we're watching a movie about a street food chef who wanted to be special by working with Hunger, a team of highly reputable and skilled chefs. Will she become special, and at what cost? Disclaimer: spoiler alert, the scene begins with a group of chefs chopping various ingredients while constantly being shouted at like a soldier. Chef Paul, a charismatic chef, checks out their work before they go to a party that evening. The chef began prepping a lobster in front of guests. He fried and served it around rocks, making it look pleasing. A guest came out to taste the food and asked where the cutleries were, but Chef Paul tell him to grab it with his hand. He later dipped the lobster in the mud-looking sauce and loved it, which satisfied the chef. We then shift to a crowded noodle restaurant, where we met Oi, a young girl who cooked up all the orders. The restaurant is full of laughter and warm despite being busy. In the middle of cooking, a customer named Tone tasted one mouthful of Oi noodles and went up to her. He gave her a name card with Hunger logo on it. He asked her to come work with him. Oi didn't really mind him as orders are piling up for her to cook. After the busy lunch hour, Oi with a couple of her friends casually chit-chat and complains about each other life. While chatting, Oi bring up the name card from earlier and one of her friends told Oi. Hunger is a famous restaurant serving the richest and most famous people in Thailand with Chef Paul at its helm. Hearing that, Oi start to wonder how would it feel to work with such a team. She decide to give Tone a call, and go to Hunger to see around. She entered a building, and when they entered the kitchen, she was surprised by how clean and organized the kitchen was. The staff began to enter, and asked Tone whether she was the other recruit going to the test. She was surprised and get ready to leave, but at the same time Chef Paul entered the kitchen. Chef Paul asked the team who was going to take test. The other recruit come out boasting about his previous workplace, but before finishing his sentence, he got cut out. Chef asked them to make fried rice for the test, and hearing the subject, the male recruit laughed it off saying it was too easy. He starts to look around the fridge and bring out expensive ingredients, while Oi still processing the situation. She later start moving and take out old rice, eggs, and wok. She preheats the wok with a huge fire and start cooking. Both of them finish up their cooking, and serve their food. Chef looks at both fried rice and decide to taste Soy's first. After tasting it, the male recruit gets sent off without getting tasted. He gets mad but Chef doesn't care and give him a slap.
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
After that, Chef briefed the team about upcoming banquet in a general place where they will serve a flesh and blood themed food with A5 Wagyu as the centerpiece. He bring out a huge chunk of beef, and demonstrate how to cut it, then ask Oi to do it. Oi tried to cut it but gets criticized for every move she does. They then ask her to fry the beef, but she also fails as the meat got burned to crisp every single time. Chef gets mad and tells the whole team if Oi cannot do it, they will change the whole menu tomorrow. She feel embarrassed, and practice the whole night to prove them wrong. The next day, the staff come into the kitchen and found Oi sleeping on the kitchen floor. She later wakes up, and stare at Chef Paul to get revenge for yesterday. She starts tossing the beef and quickly takes it out. The chef examines and tastes it, he then left without any comment. She feels satisfied while looking at the burn mark at her arm like a trophy. They go to the party and start prepping the meal, while looking around the important people attending the party. One of the attendees, Tosh, want to talk with Chef to gain favor, but fails as the cooking will begin soon. Oi cooked the A5 beef and entertains all the guests with a fire show, while Chef played the food dramatically to make the guest curious. The food then serve, and the guests savor the meal like a beast trying to savor raw meat, which is exactly like the theme Chef Paul wanted. After the meal, Tosh give his name card to Oi, and offer to help her in the future after being impressed by her skill. The next day, Oi back to her noodle restaurant and feels lack of excitement. Suddenly she get a call from Tone to look for ingredient. Oi learn that the village always gives the best to Hunger because Chef paid them well. After sourcing the ingredient, Oi and Tone back to the kitchen to prep. But this time Oi get neglected and doesn't get to do anything. She thinks she is the best after the dinner and Chef asks her to chop like the kitchen porter, but she ends up cutting herself and realize she's still got a lot to learn. She later went to Tone Place and learned how to cook with expensive A5 Wagyu. While cooking, they begin to get intimate with each other and have a steamy night. The next day, Chef Paul find out a slab of A5 Wagyu have been missing. Oi begin to suspect Tone for stealing that meat. Luckily another staff was the culprit and his motive was to feed his family good food. Chef Paul cannot accept a thief in his kitchen and fired him on the spot. The team went on to prepare for a dinner, but this time it doesn't look like the usual lavish house. They serve some pastry, and when Tone get ready to serve soup, Chef Paul suddenly asks to throw it all away. The chef begin to cook like being possessed, throw in various scrap ingredient and instant noodle seasoning. He later serves it to the customer and they think of it as a high-end soup. After the event, chef begin to thrash the kitchen and explain the soup got shrimp in it. The client's daughter got an allergy and can die from a sip of food containing shrimp. The one sabotaged the soup was his sous chef. He do that to sabotage him out of jealousy. The chef begin to harass and threat to destroy his career. The sous chef have enough and stab him with a knife. Oi later visits chef and see him throw out the hospital food as it did not tend to his standard. Knowing this would happen, Oi have made her signature fried noodle to energize chef. Being touched by Oi feelings, he start to explain what drove him to become a chef. The scene shows chef past. His mother was a maid to a rich household, and he was curious with how's caviar taste like. When he wants to taste it, the family's son found out and he dropped the jar to the floor. His mother gets her salary cut for several months to pay for his mistake. While cleaning the floor, he tastes the caviar but it was bad. He realized they eat caviar not for the taste but for the status. This inspire him to be a chef and make the rich hungry for him. Oi later goes back home to find out her father collapsed from overwork. Luckily her sister and friend take care of him. Oi then come visit to the hospital, but suddenly she heard a family have commit suicide. The family was their previous client, the one they feed instant noodle seasoning. They commit suicide because the father get into debt but still hire Chef Paul to serve them for the status. Not long after that, the chef recovers and the team goes into jungle to serve their next client. The client was a group of illegal hunter who go around shooting endangered birds. The client shoots one and asks them to cook the bird for them. Oi was against this idea and asked chef to stop, but chef told her she need to cook new ingredient to get better. She gets enough of a chef way and decide to get out of the team. Oi later decide to meet up with Tosh to finance her new restaurant. Inspired by her wok skills, they open a restaurant called Flame to showcase her wok skills. To prepare for the opening, she cooks various dish but nothing impressed Tosh as her food lacked character. Tosh asks her to put more flame into her dish. She later manages to cook up a good dish and the restaurant become a hit, and but oddly she doesn't felt any happiness. The next day, Chef Paul paid a visit to Oi restaurant, and after tasting her food, he asked her is it fun to become special, and warn her she will lose everything she loved to maintain her status like what he does. He said they will meet again at Madam Silky party, as they are currently the most famous chef in Thailand. At the party, the madam start the cooking show and ask them to cook their best dish. Oi goes first and begin to prepare a live show with her wok, which attracts the guest. After finish up the food, the guest gobble up her food, but suddenly, the light begins to dim, and a huge cow carcass fall from the ceiling. Chef Paul begins slicing the cow like a madman to entertain all the guests. He then throws spices all across the cow, and light up the cow in fire. After it cooks, he slice a piece and feeds it directly to the madam, while the rest of the guests go for the beef like crazy. Oi on the other hand start cooking again, but this time it is not a fancy dish, but she cook her fried noodle while thinking about her family. She want to prove the rich can be satisfied with simple food. The guests like her dish but it does not bring an impact like before. Knowing this, Chef Paul quickly serves soup out of kettle to the guest and the guest follow him like a lost lamb. Chef Paul comes to Oi and tell her she will not win from him because the guest wants him, not his food. Suddenly, a group of police comes to the party to catch Chef Paul. It turns out a video of Chef Paul cooking for illegal hunters spread across the internet. Tosh and Tone smirking across the room as they are the ones spreading the video. Chef get taken out from the party and Oi break down in tears, but Madam Silky casually praises her dish and went on with the party like nothing happened. Seeing how the rich party and enjoying themselves, she realized Chef was right and she cannot do anything with it. She decide to go to her old restaurant and quit cooking for the rich as this is. That's all for today. Thank you for your support.